Okay, notice the first problem is just asking for h of 3, so no derivative here. So all we have to do is plug in 3 for x. So if I do that, oops, let me get rid of this. This is all I need. G of 3, if I look at my graph, notice is 2. So this is going to become 2. And then f of 2 from my graph is 3. So there's that one. The second question is asking for the derivative, so I do want to take the derivative, and I want to use the chain rule. F is the outside function, g is the inside. So we do the derivative of the outside, inside stays the same, times the derivative of the inside. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug in the 2 for x. So I have f prime of g of 2 times g prime of 2. So again, start by finding g of 2 is 1 from the graph, it's just the y value. So it's f prime of 1 times g prime of 2. So I just need to find these two values and multiply them together. So if I look on my graph, f prime of 1, notice the slope at this graph, notice you've got a curve here and there's this straight line. So notice it's creating what's called that cusp. So if you recall, slopes do not exist at a cusp. So really, because this piece right here does not exist, it doesn't even matter what the second piece is. Does not exist times anything, it still does not exist. Number 3, so p of x is a composite function again. G is the outside, x squared minus x is the inside. So we're going to take the derivative of p. So it's the derivative of the outside, inside stays the same, times the derivative of the inside. Now we're going to plug in -1 for x. So if I do that, this becomes -1 squared is 1 minus -1 is 2. And then this is -3. So I need to figure out what g prime of 2 is. So I'm going to look at the graph of g, and I need the slope of g at 2. That's what g prime is. And I can just count up 1 over 1. So it looks like the slope is 1. So 1 times -3 is -3. Okay, this last one down here, you will have to use the quotient rule because I've got a function in terms of x on top and bottom. So step 1, let's take the derivative using the quotient rule. So derivative of the top times the bottom minus the derivative of the bottom times the top. Oops, actually, I made a mistake. So the derivative of the bottom, notice the function is 3x minus 1 squared. That is a 2-layer function. So if you bring down the 2, reduce the power by 1, and then don't forget chain rule on the inside. So that's the derivative of the bottom, and then we need to multiply by the top. And then all over denominator squared. So if I square it, that's going to give me to the 4th power. Now let's go ahead and plug in our number, which is -1. So f prime of -1, if I plug in -1 here, you're going to get a -4 squared, which is 16, minus 2. This will give me a -4, 3, and then f of -1. And then the bottom here is -4 to the 4th. Okay, let's find some of these values. So I need to find f prime of -1. So I need this value. So I'm going to look at the graph of f. At -1, notice that you have a horizontal tangent line, so that means the slope at that point is 0. So this is 0, and then this is a plus. All of this is going to become 8 times 3, which is 24. F of -1, let's see, f of -1 is just the y value there, which is -2. So that's -2, and then -4 to the 4th on the bottom is going to be 256. This is -48 over 256, and it does reduce all the way down to -3 over 16.